Colin Morikawa 18-1 is in for the Masters. Now, a little concerned maybe about the weather coming up for this weekend. Some early projections looking like it could be cold, maybe a little bit of rain, particularly on Friday. So if you want to fire up the Euro grinder angle, maybe this is the type of Masters we go back to when Danny Willett won it, and when it's a little lower scoring and cold weather comes into play, sometimes you maybe favor those Euros. So obviously Morikawa isn't that angle, but 3 straight top 10s here at this tournament, guys. He's proven to be a major player. Big tournaments, majors, he steps up. He's usually in the mix. He's won a couple before. So I trust him here. And I think at 18-1 compared to some of the players around him in a tournament where I feel like there's probably only maybe 10 guys that can win when they show up, I think Morikawa gives you some pretty good value here.
Rory is in the best form he's ever been in.
Yeah.
And his game, I think, is really in the best shape because he's already won twice this year. He's already won at Pebble Beach, which was a signature event, and then he's won at the Players' Championship, which is the quasi quote-unquote fifth major, or what it used to be referred to as. So he's in the great form, and trying to figure out how deep I want to go with long shots on the board. There certainly are some interesting prices, but I don't think this is one you necessarily want to load up because there's so many different markets that you can bet here. You can bet those top 20s and the top 30s and whatnot, and make or miss cut props and nationality props. So yeah, you don't want to, I think, go crazy and like, oh, I got a bunch of guys at 150-1 to win the Masters, because those 150-1s don't usually get home here.
I am going to have Minwoo. I decided this morning I'm going to do that. And I had him in Houston, driver putter. And that's what you have to be here. You have to drive it well, and you have to putt on these slick greens. And Minwoo's short game is really underrated, and that's why I liked him in Houston. Very good scrambling, very good around the green. And at Augusta, these are the widest fairways, by the way, on the PGA Tour of any event that they play. I think they're like 51 yards wide on average. So you don't get into a ton of trouble here. Like if you put it in that pine straw, remember where Bubba Watson hit it all over the place so many years ago and got in that pine straw seemingly every single time? Mm-hmm. You can get it out of there. So I don't think the rough's not all that penal here at Augusta.
You like Rahm, but betting him in a different capacity. What's the play there?
Yeah, Rahm has taken insane amount of money. I think when I wrote up my NBC article, Rahm was around 18-1, and he had just moved down from 20. He's all the way down to 13, which is probably an unbettable number for me at 13-1, but I did take him in the top live golfer market. So that's basically all the live golfers in the field. While Joaquin Niemann and Sergio Garcia have played really good golf, Jon Rahm still is the leader in this category here. If you look at Jon Rahm's numbers just over the last 36 rounds, and that's measured data from live and from the Asian Tour, Jon Rahm is the number one golfer in strokes gained total per round out of all of those golfers. And the margin is substantial. It's almost an entire per tournament. It's almost an entire stroke per tournament higher than the second guy. Getting him at about 3.5-1 to be the top live golfer is a really good price, especially if you look at some of the shops. Some of the other books I consider to be sharper books have him around plus 260. So you're getting a fairly good price on here. What's really intriguing about Rahm too, he's been driving the ball really well. It seems like he's not losing strokes with his driver, which was kind of the case leading up to the last Masters. And his putter's been really hot. At Augusta, you have to putt really well. You have to be really good at lag putting and not lose strokes by 3 putting. Jon Rahm's been doing that phenomenally. I mean, I figured Jon Rahm has a top 10, top 5 somewhere in his repertoire with a high upside of winning. You can't really say that about all of the live golfers in the field.
Who do you think could be a longer shot to possibly win this whole thing?
But I'm looking at Bryson DeChambeau. Mm-hmm. I'm looking, believe it or not, at Jordan Spieth. Just because he's got so much. Well, you get a little bit of odds value in Spieth now. He's drifted up to 40-1. You get him up plus money in the top 20, and he knows Augusta inside and out. Jensen, you're a golfer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Greg Maddux was a really good golfer. Most pitchers are golfers. I figured you were a player, so there are certain courses you go to and you always play well, right? And certain courses you go to and you always suck. And that's true for me. That's true for me as a golfer. Have you found that true? Because I always feel like when you're handicapping it, course history is a very important point of emphasis. And that's why Spieth has got such positive course history at Augusta. I think you have to bring him back into play this week. And he was a little wild last week, but he was in contention. It looks like he's starting to get his game back a little bit. So I'll consider him. I do have a bet on Joaquin Niemann at 42-1. He's been lost on the LIV Tour, even though he's won a couple times. I think he's a guy you got to look at. Shane Lowry and Justin Rose is my longest shot at 125-1.
Who else do you see making a major run towards getting the green jacket, Brian, this week?
I'm starting. I really like the name Shane Lowry. Hasn't won yet this year, but he's knocked on the door. He's very much long enough. Does everything else that you need to do here right. And one thing that we haven't quite thought of, it's not that he's lacking motivation, but the British Open this year is going to be back at Royal Portrush where he won. And that's back in, it's on the island that is Ireland. It's in Northern Ireland. He's from the Republic, but, you understand what that's all about. So, for him, it's very important, which means, he's in the gym. He's doing all the things he has to do. If there's a time to take a little moment off, get your foot off the gas pedal, that's not what's happening for Shane Lowry. And I've been seeing the results. He's been playing some great golf this year. I also love Sepp Straka. Sepp Straka got a sniff of the leaderboard. I know it was Palm Springs, and it's kind of a fun event, but he got in front, and he was on a different rotation than everybody else too. So a little bit of heat on him. Didn't get the rotation the rest of the leaderboard was on, which means they have 3 courses out there, which means he probably played. If nobody else in that rotation was anywhere near the top, he probably played in tougher conditions than everybody else. And yet, not only did he prevail, but he walked away. So yeah, there's a couple. Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry, a couple nobody's talking about.
Who is your guy that you're riding with to win this thing outright?
I took Xander Schauffele at 22-1 to win this tournament. And why I say this pained me a lot was because I had every intention of going to the market and buying stock in Colin Morikawa. But when I start to think about the prices, especially as the prices started to shift, Morikawa is getting down to 16-1 in some books. While he has a great Masters history here, he's been playing phenomenal golf. I just thought and this is funny because Colin Morikawa has 2 majors, but the more recent major pedigree has to go to Xander Schauffele, right? He's been phenomenal in the past majors. The dude's a major champion now. He can breathe, relax. He won 2 last year. But what's really good about him, you look, he's coming off that injury. You look at his stats and you say, what has Xander kind of struggled with and what has he done well? Well, the last 2 events he struggled off the tee, but in his last event, he was phenomenal on approach, gaining 11 strokes on approach, which is one of the highest marks he's had in his entire career. Well, what's intriguing about him struggling off the tee, he came out with a statement that said, when you have a layoff and you're dealing with an injury, you don't have the opportunity to go out there and test all of the new technology, the new driver heads. So what he did for this tournament, and I think it's going to pay major dividends, he went back to an old model, a model that he's comfortable with. I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to that, which is why his odds are still floating around that 22-1. I think he has tremendous value at that price, given how well he has been doing on approach. And if he can just get back to positive numbers off the tee, everything else will work itself out.
You've been saying this tournament is all about Ludvig Aberg and winning it. You have, so many tickets on him various ways. It's coming out of your earlobes at this point. Are you backing down from that, or are you adding more this week?
I can't back down, and as the price continues to drift, I'm going to continue to add a little more. Guys, he was under 20 last week. Now we're seeing 22. I won't be surprised at all if at some, really sharp shops like Circa, where when guys drift, they adjust pretty aggressively. We might see a 25-26 on Oberg next week. So, on Wednesday. So I'm not. Keep an eye on that, because if he keeps drifting, I may add some more as he gets up there. Really, the only thing I worry about this week with him is chipping. The course is going to be damp enough early on that hopefully he can hold the greens and doesn't have to chip a ton, because that's really all I care about. I don't think there's any player on tour or LIV that tee to green their peak game is better than peak Oberg. I just don't. Now, last year he didn't hold the greens, and he lost 2.3 strokes around the greens, gained 6 shots tee to green, gained 8 strokes putting, and finished second. I think if he can at least just chip neutral, he's going to be very, very live. Looking forward to a good ball striking week. Hopefully he got a few things worked out over the last few weeks, because his recent form hasn't been terrific. He won a few weeks ago, but the last few weeks haven't been great. But I'm confident he can dial it all together, and if we see peak Oberg, I think he's going to win the event.
That's been our largest bet so far is on Scotty. We took just short of 10,000 on him at 9-2. And we've taken some other large ones on McIlroy, dimes here and there. Jordan Spieth, we had a 2-9 bet on him. So, but Scotty stands out with the largest one, and he's our liability at the top of the board. Him and Morikawa are the two guys that we have liability on right now. We have some on Spieth, and that's pretty much it. You know, we write so much on this pool throughout the whole year with it being up so long and the interest in it, that we're in really good shape on just about everybody except for those golfers right now.
Rory McIlroy, obviously up there as well to win this thing. We know about the course history there, too, for Rory. Elbow issue, though, about 2 weeks ago. That's been kind of a theme. He says he's fine. How do you factor that in as you head into Augusta?
I mean, it's definitely a question mark. I don't know if you watched any of the interview. They asked him a couple times. He kind of avoided it, and then he came out and said it's fine. So I don't know. When he first said that last week, the thing that came to my mind a little bit was we're making excuses already a little bit, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Should he be the second favorite? Absolutely. Would I be running to the window to bet him? Probably not.
Would it be wise to maybe look to play against him in some of these matchups? I mean, I would assume you're going to get some pretty good odds playing against him if he's not fully healthy. It's obviously a guessing game, but
yeah, it definitely is. If you can get the right price, I mean, I'd definitely be looking to bet against him rather than bet on him. That's for sure.
Well, and guys, I talked about him on the show months ago.
Yeah.
Get your Straka tickets now at 100-1. He's down to 75. But guys, you have to score on par fives to win this week. You have to. Sepp Straka is top 5 in par 5 scoring. He is an elite long iron player inside the top 10. Won the Amex in January. Since then, has 5 more finishes inside the top 15. Keep in mind, went to school in Georgia, Georgia Bulldog. I will be legitimately shocked if he does not finish inside the top 20 this week. I love him, plus 170 or better, top 20. I absolutely think he can make a run. And another guy I've been on darn near every week, Daniel Berger, 110-1, top 5, 14-1. Oh. A guy we hit at 20-1, top 5 a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I love a 14-1 on Berger. Ties pay full. Doesn't have any real weaknesses in his game. Doesn't crush it off the tee. But aside from that, he's in very good form across the board, and he's just neutral off the tee. It's not like he's a short hitter. Going back to last November, Berger's played in 12 events and finished top 20 in 7 of them. I expect another top-notch performance this week. I'm going to ladder him as well. I'm going to play him in DFS.
Well, I did Justin Thomas at 30-1, just over 30-1. But I think Shane Lowry, Russell Henley, and Robert McIntyre are 3 guys 40 to 50-1 range that have just had excellent seasons, can fit this course. They've all done well here. And I think that they've got enough wins that they wouldn't be afraid of the moment. And you just need to find these guys when it comes to a major and getting odds like that can be in contention Sunday and give yourself a shot. And I think out of those 3, I think at least one of them will be in that position to give it a run.
Yeah, guys, well, he hasn't won this year. Shane Lowry has 7 top 10s since last year's Masters. Big reason he's popular. The only real flaw in his game has been his putting. But as we well know, you don't have to be the greatest putter in the world to win at Augusta. It's hard for everybody. Ask Adam Scott, ask Hideki, ask Scotty Scheffler. The laundry list of Sergio, the laundry list of poor putters goes on. So this is Lowry's 10th Masters. His best finish being 3rd in 2022. You want an in-form player north of 40-1 with good Masters experience? Well, with 3 top 11s or better in his last 4 events, add to this history, you should start that list with Lowry. So I like Lowry a lot at 45-1. And guys, who has been playing better golf lately than Russell Henley? He doesn't crush the ball off the tee, but he's 55-1 and does everything else you'd want from a Masters champion besides crush the ball. Current form's great. Just won at the API to go with 3 more top 10s in the prior 4 weeks. Nobody not named Rory has better form coming in than Henley. Love him. Again, recent success at the Masters, 4th here in 2023, buoyed by his elite chipping that week where he gained over 5 shots around the green. Plus 125, top 20 for Russell Henley, my favorite play of the week. Another guy you should look to ladder.
You mentioned Scotty Scheffler, and the answer is no. We are not taking much on him. You know, usually the case week to week with Scotty is we'll take a lot on him just because I think people kind of fire off that single bullet, or just kind of see that the rest of the field is if they don't see the big names, they like to fire on him. But now when we get this full field and all the superstars, all the live guys, people are interested in a lot of these other names. So, Rory McIlroy, of course, the second favorite on the board, plus 650. Could be argued that he's the co-favorite with Scotty. He's in some of the best form of his career, Rory coming in. So we're actually a small loser on him, but, just kind of spread down the board. Pretty big losers now on Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa, Ludvig Aberg. So some of those familiar names, and then a lot of the mid-range guys too. So it's kind of spread all over the place. But yeah, kind of maybe a little bit surprising. They're not betting Scotty this far this week.
Who are you looking to fade here? And I know several sharp cappers are trying to fade Max Homa in every matchup possible. What do you think there?
Well, that's the easy answer. I mean, he is totally out of form, and I don't mind betting him to miss the cut either. I mean, he can't play right now, and I'm up to 300 to 1 on him, and this is a golfer the past few years. You saw 40 to 50 to 1. But between him, Matt Fitzpatrick, Cameron Young, they're really struggling with their game right now, and you see him up 150 to 300 to 1, and if you find matchups with them, it looks like a fade. And I did met one matchup that I've been consistently betting against this individual almost weekly, and that's Wyndham Clark. And I played Patrick Reed minus a quarter against Clark, and I've had a lot of success fading Wyndham Clark. I just think he's overvalued in the matchup market, and I continue to go against him.
Speaking about approach play around the green play, the two guys I love this week are two Georgia Bulldogs, Russell Henley and Sepp Straka.
Okay.
Straka's at 80 to 1, I believe. Henley's around 45. I think you can even find him at 55 to 1. Two guys with both the long-term form and the recent form. Obviously, Henley won at Bay Hill. Big event. That was a huge confidence booster for him. He's got some solid recent history at Augusta. I believe he tied for 4th in 2023. Straka tied for 16th here last year. That's his best finish at the Masters, but had played really well in the majors the year before. He already has a win in 2025. I love those two as kind of mid-tier long shots. I'm on Bryson DeChambeau. Not a ton of great stats on the LIV Tour that we can kind of point to. It's just a gut feeling for me. I've said this since last year. I think he's going to win here. He finally seemed to crack the code. A couple of years ago, he said it was a par 67 for him, and then he got humbled by the golf course very quickly. I think he's learned from that. Someone asked him today, what's the one hole that gives you the most problems out here? And Bryson said, they all give me problems. So it's clearly humbled him, this golf course, this tournament. He has more respect for it. And I think took the lead after 36 holes last year. He ended up tying for 6. He kind of figured something out. And obviously he showed us a little something last week at LIV Doral in Miami. So gut feeling for me on Bryson. So Bryson, Henley, Straka, and then I bet Will Zalatoris a couple weeks ago at a terrible number because I'm a moron. He's at a better number now, but I do still like him.
If you want to go beyond them, John Rahm at 13 to 1 does make some sense. He, of course, won the Masters 2 years ago. Didn't play well at Augusta last year, missed the cut at the PGA, ended up withdrawing from the U.S. Open, had just kind of a bizarre season overall. But he's been lighting it up on the LIV Tour. It seems like he's in a much better headspace this year than he was in 2024. So I think he makes some sense. Justin Thomas at 25 to 1 is somebody I would look at. 7 top 15 finishes in his last 11 events. If you want a true long shot, though, I hate to say this, he's one of the most hated guys on tour, Joe. Patrick Reed, 90 to 1 to win the tournament. I don't think that's going to happen. I would say I wouldn't bet it, but I will be betting a small amount, 90 to 1 on Patrick Reed. In his Masters history, he has 5 top 15s, 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s, and 1 win back in 2018. So, again, am I sitting here saying that Patrick Reed's going to win the Masters? No, but as far as guys who kind of buck the trends, it doesn't necessarily seem to matter how well he's playing, what he's doing coming into the tournament. He always does turn it on at Augusta. Maybe look at an 11 to 1 per se on a Patrick Reed top 5.